Hello everyone, this is Korosh Erfani. Today is Saturday, March 21st, 2026. We are at the 22nd day of the Israeli-American war on Iran. Today there was a very important development, which was the attack that Iran organized over Israel and could for the first time reach the famous let's say area related to the nuclear site Dimona, right? So the different news outlets are reporting about more than 100 people wounds. It looks like that there is between 2 to 4 people most probably killed. So it's a matter of two areas, Dimona and Arad, and we know that this was among the most protected areas in Israel, and they thought that it's impossible for the Iranians to penetrate, the coverage of these two regions and strike them. But it happened, and I think from the moment Iran was able to do so, we entered again in a new step of this war. The things, as you can see, are stepping up more and more, and we don't have any sign when and where it can come to a halt, right? This is what is happening exactly for 22 days, escalation, and there won't be for now any let's say de-escalation as long as we didn't go through a process, because many people think that everything is somehow depending on the accidents, the events. Yes, of course, a part of any process is always accidental, but if we want to have a better idea about how the things are evolving and toward which direction we are going to, we have to get a kind of model or theoretical explanation based on the precedented experience, based on analogous experiences in the past, and from that moment we will be able to understand how the things right now can change. So we were sure, and we have already said that at a given moment Israel won't be able to tolerate anymore the Iranian attacks, because you remember we said that the carrying capacity of the Israeli society is around 12 days, as it was the case of the June 2025 war, right? So 12, 15, but now is 22 days, and we know that there is no any perspective of exit point, at least for the ordinary Israelis. They don't see when, where, and how these attacks will stop. On the other hand, we see that despite the fact that President Trump or Hexet or Rubio or whoever announced that the Iranian capabilities to send missiles and drone had been completely obliterated at 100%, 110%, still Iran is able to damage, to cause damages to Israel and to the United States with almost zero or even less than 0% of capability, right? A miracle can happen. So, from now on, we must have an idea about with what has happened. It has just happened. How the things are going to evolve. Let me tell you this: the meaning behind this attack. As you know, Israel is a tiny country, right? And many experts had told that if there is really an explosion, in the nuclear sites of Israel, and the main one is Dimona, there is a risk of the whole country to be affected, to be impacted, and most probably Israel won't be inhabitable anymore. Nobody can live there, because if there is the radioactivity pollution, over there, spreading just in this tiny, not only Israel, but also the Israel's neighbor will be affected and impacted. So that's why there is a serious problem, and I think Iran finally find out how to strike this specific location, and we saw that after having been bombed for its nuclear site in Natanz, Iran immediately answered. It means that they had for sure prepared a lot of things before, the days, weeks, months before, in order to touch effectively Dimona, and they did that, and they did it perfectly, because nothing could stop the missiles that were there with a huge, it's unprecedented to get such a damage where there is more than 100 people injured at least. So we saw that immediately after there was a meeting of the National Security Cabinet of Netanyahu, and of course they studied the question, what to do, what we can do, and immediately, that's my version, the things, I think immediately they ordered Trump, don't forget Epstein file, to issue a warning for the Iranians. And here we are. Here we are with all the intelligence of that guy saying that, hello, if Iran doesn't fully open without threat the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours, 2 days, from this exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate, you are familiar with this word, right? Obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first. Thank you. So, that's President Trump, the puppet of Israel. Israel now is hit, and of course the puppet has to do something. But Iran is waiting for that. For Iran, it was obvious that in the curve of escalation, we are going to talk about that very soon, we are going to have at a specific moment the fact that the United States and Israel will bomb the power plants in order to push Iran, toward, Middle Age or Stone Age. According to the Israeli calculations, it was supposed to do it in just 24, 48 hours, but now is in the 22nd day, and still Iran has power, right? So that's why they had to act. All right, Iran was waiting for it, and that's why immediately they started to have reaction, official reaction, unofficial. For example, one of the unofficial is telling, "Hi, Arab family dictatorship in the Persian Gulf, you are finished," right? It's telling us no more oil, no more gas, global depression, and this is really what's going to happen. Believe me or not, we are at a point where the things we can say for the maximum pressure of the war over the global economy has just started. We are not in the middle of a global economic crisis. We are not at the end. We are just at the beginning. We are just at the starting point of the global economic crisis. And just as a reaction to what is happening, and nothing still has happened, right? Just talking about the threat. As you can see already, the digital markets started to collapse, to crumble, right? And immediately we have $240 million liquidated in the crypto market. This is the premise of what is going to happen, and because 48 hours it means Monday, right? And Monday you will see what is going on, what is going to happen in the financial or stock market in the United States, because that would be almost at the same time that the United States has to do something according to this threat, and otherwise that would be a serious matter. So this threat ordered by Israel and done by President Trump is something that will have immediate consequences on the global economy and the whole world situation. First of all, we are going to have a rising oil and gas prices. How much we don't know, but some sources are talking about most probably what is right now around $119, so, between something $150 to $170, right? And imagine that the price that we have right now for the harbors where the oil is immediately sold with 150, 170 already, would be something between $200 to $250 per barrel. So that's the first effect. We must be waiting for a huge rise of oil and gas prices across the world, including in the United States, with the gas right now between 5 to 7, would be considerably increasing. I think the prices will step up something like $1 to $2. So we should be waiting for $6 to $8 instead of 5 to 7, and even more. We don't know. There would be for sure the higher grocery cost in the United States. This is just to give you an idea about how incrementally the worsening situation is going on, and it means that we are going to have serious trouble here. So with regard to the Strait of Hormuz, of course, Iran cannot accept such a threat, cannot comply with that, and therefore they will organize in such a way that not only they start to attack everything that is related to the power or energy installation in the region, but also do in such a way that the United States cannot even imagine from that moment on the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. So as you can see, we are in a case scenario that cannot be worse, and that's the effect of quagmire, as I told you. For weeks now, we are talking more than 3 weeks, we are talking about the effects of quagmire, and it's very known. We have the experience of Afghanistan, Iraq, before that in Vietnam. The quagmire's effect is very simple. Any move whatsoever you do in order to change the situation, you worsen just that. This is what we discussed in the latest video last night. We said that they cannot move forward. United States cannot move forward. They cannot walk away, and they are standstill. The economic situation, the global economic situation, is crumbling, is breaking down. They have to do something, but whatever is the decision, whatever is the action, they don't have anything but going, down, sinking in this quagmire. Let me show you something. Axios was telling us that President Trump is looking for somehow a kind of channel in order to start discussing with Iranians, with regard to peace talks. Here, Trump's team game planning for potential Iran peace talks. So they are working on that. But Iran, on the other hand, directly, indirectly, officially, unofficially announced effectively its conditions. It says that if you want really peace, these are our conditions. If it's true, let me just name some of them in order to have an idea about what would be any configuration in which we can imagine something like peace or ceasefire or whatsoever. So the first one, Iran is asking for guarantees not to repeat the war. And I don't know who can guarantee that, but this is what Iran wants. And it means that the United States and Israel must accept to be under supervision of a higher, a superior instance, I don't know, United Nations, a gathering of China, Russia, European countries, something, they must accept to be subject of the international control, international supervision. This is what it requires. This just first condition of the Iranians. Can you imagine something like that? Israel, the reckless, careless, wild entity, being on the control of who? What? China? Russia? United Nations? So, you see, from the first point, we have a serious problem. Second, the closure of all U.S. military bases in the Middle East region. So, which means that eradication of something that is called United States in the region, right, in the Persian Gulf, which means the end of more than, 50, 60 years of military presence over there after having spent billions and billions of dollars and creating the military bases and so on. Now they have to, go away, completely get off. All right, unimaginable, right? At least in this condition where the United States wants to use, the force in order to replace it, replacing diplomacy by force. This is what the United States. And in this condition, can you imagine that you cut completely the foot of the United States over there on the Persian Gulf ground? Third is the U.S. and Israel to pay full compensation to Iran. Full compensation means, something between $500 billion to $1 trillion. Yesterday I was talking about some gossip or news that say United States asked from the Arab countries to pay it for continuing the war or for stopping the war, $5 trillion or $2.5 trillion. Now imagine that Iran is asking United States and of course Israel to pay it for billions and billions of dollars. Can you imagine that these two countries started the war for getting, the control of the Iranian natural resources, gas, oil, and so on, and now they have to go somewhere finding $500 billion or $1 trillion and pay it as compensation. So again, something that is not imaginable, right? 4, the U.S. and Israel to end wars on all fronts in the region. So no more war anywhere, including on all pro-Iranian groups. So which means more war in Lebanon, in Palestine, most probably in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Syria, maybe somewhere, or in Iraq, in Yemen. No touch. They don't have to touch anymore the proxies of the Iranian government. So again, something that means the total control of the Middle East by Iran, and it's unimaginable. 5. Impose a new legal regime on the Strait of Hormuz. This is what the Iranians are looking for, because now they are realizing that they have the full control of the strait, and any ship, any tanker that wants to go, through, must pay something, must pay a fee. And according to some sources, Iran is able to collect something between 80 billion to 800 billion dollars, per year from the Strait of Hormuz. Just imagine like the Suez Channel or something like that, and they can have. So a new legal regime on the Strait of Hormuz. And finally, hand over elements from hostile media to Iran. So it's a matter of putting an end to the activity of the opponents, across the other countries. Those who have participated directly or indirectly in this attack and, supported them. So these are, we can say, totally unacceptable conditions. I don't know if this is the official, but for example, this source is using the term Iranian official shares terms for ending war. We don't know, but we have already an idea about that from Mr. Araghchi, the foreign minister of the Iranian government, talking about at least 3 of these aspects: guarantees, compensation, and a new configuration for the region. So we must be able to imagine that such a thing is just not true or impossible to be realized or to achieve. Now, why we are far from all this fantasy, the ending the war, stopping the war, etc. Because, as I told you, we must think about the fact that there is a curve, and this curve has been tested several times in the past decades, and every time this curve functioned. So that's why they formulated that, and it's called the curve of escalation. As you can see, there are the steps. First, there is nothing, then something trigger, then you have agitation, and it starts. We have acceleration, and then we get to the peak. Okay, so this is something that you can find on internet. Is very known as here you have the escalation cycle, and this is applied to a lot of things, behavioral crisis, social crisis, political one, and of course the military one. So calm, trigger, agitation, acceleration, and peak. So those who are talking about de-escalation, the peace talk or ceasefire talk, they are talking about this step, de-escalation. But in order to know if we are close to that or not, we must locate where we are right now, in the 22nd day of this war, on which point of this curve or cycle we can be located. It seems to me that with what is going to happen in the coming 48 hours, and also with what we have in reference to what has happened just a few hours ago in Dimona and Arad, two very sensitive zone of Israel, now subject to Iranian strike. If we go into details, we can see that now we are at a very sensitive point of this curve, where the things are not yet at its maximum, at their maximum, right? What's the maximum? Now let me show you another tools of analysis. Look at this. So when you want to know when the war is really about to change, you must observe a transition from disruption to damage. And what's the difference? Disruption is temporary, is reversible, and it happens usually during weeks. And what we have had during these 3 weeks is exactly that. Disruption of, oil production or sailing over their transactions and so on and so on. So there are mainly disruption, even though there are some parts of the economy that is already damaged. Okay, but mainly disruption. Why? Because it's temporary, because it's reversible, and of course it takes a short period of time. But look at what is the threshold. When you go toward damage, the damages are lasting, they are durable for months or years, they are irreversible. You cannot really stop that and reverse the course. The damage is done. Once it's done, it's over. Now you have to destroy completely, for example, a facility in order to build a new one up, right? And it takes months, right? Because both sides are there in order to do the maximum damage, to cause the maximum damage. So that's why with these conditions we can see that from this moment, from this specific time in which we are in this curve, in this cycle here. Let me show you. We are at the acceleration point, right? We are here. We are somewhere here. The things are going to accelerate in 24 or 48 hours, or we can say from the moment the Natanz nuclear facility has been bombed by Israel and the United States almost 20 hours ago, and Iran reacted by bombing Dimona. We are in the period of acceleration. Acceleration will have, of course, new force from the moment these threats by President Trump would be realized. Okay? So, which means Monday at any hours, that is the equivalent of 48 hours from the publication of this post, we are going to have a huge wave of acceleration. Following the probable, because it's not sure, right? The probable attack of the United States over the power installation of Iran, we are going to have, of course, the reaction of the Iranian. Over what? Over everything that would be available as, let's say, the energy installation, the power installation in the region, right? And that would be something really worrisome, because we are talking about bringing 7 countries, right, and 15 million into the dark by the Iranians. Here you have just what Iranian media published. As you can see here, just for Israel, they identified all the power and energy installation in the different region. Haifa, here you have Ashkelon, here you have Ashdod and Rothem. So all of them, as you can see, will be hit. Don't forget that these are in a different part of Israel, and Iran has already struck the different, let's say, neighborhood and adjacent zone of all of these field or stations, right? And Iran also promised to hit the desalination station of Israel, which will provide something like 50% of drinking water to this country. So all of this, plus all the power plants or power station of the Arab countries in the Persian Gulf, we are going to talk about a huge escalation, right? And from that moment we can have an idea about how we are still far from the peak. And back to our diagram, as you can see here, this is the acceleration. So we are here, just here. We don't know. Don't forget that the scope of time between each step is imprecise. We don't know. We don't have any specific idea about the duration, the scope of time that will take between each of them. So we saw that for disruption is weeks can go, but now with the threat of President Trump, we are talking about damages, because once you destroy completely the power plant of a country like Iran, it means that the country will be deprived of electricity for years. We are talking about something that's not reversible, right? It's irreversible. There is no more, and you have to rebuild everything, scratching from zero, which means you have to spend billions and billions of dollars that you don't have, right? And also for years. So Iran knows that by losing these power stations, the country will be brought to what Israel wanted and what Israel always formulated, the dark age, right? The dark age, the stone age. These are the expressions Israeli were using always with regard to Iran, as for bombing, destroying everything. So with regard to the Zionist agenda, it's perfect. The puppet in the White House is doing exactly what the master in Tel Aviv is telling him. He doesn't have any choice. Epstein file and lots of other things we must remember. So we are going to be here from now on in acceleration, but as here we have a better maybe presentation. As you can see, the distance between the different parts are not really equal, right? So from the moment we start the acceleration point, we can be in a process of several weeks or several months, only and only for one thing. In the acceleration, we don't have any logic or any relevance to just disrupt. It doesn't mean anything, because we don't get to this point of acceleration only and only but disrupt. Acceleration includes damage, Okay, and when we are talking about damage, there is no any limit to cause damage to the enemy, right? So that's why from the moment the things become irreversible, no return point, we will get really to something radical, something extremely hot, right? So let me just be very clear. Either we had to stop it before, somewhere in this curve, before getting there. For example, when the things started to trigger, somehow with diplomacy, negotiation, and so on, we could have stopped that. Otherwise, after this, before agitation, we could try, by intermediary of United Nations, I don't know, some countries, maybe intermediary countries, states, to do something. But once you cannot do it, when it's a matter only and only of disruption, and you let the process go from agitation to acceleration, which means from disruptions to damages. Then you get to the irreversible point. And from that moment, you cannot do anything. It's very, very late to do whatsoever. So we are going to have acceleration from now on, for sure. And we are going toward the peak. Now, another interesting question for understanding the specifics of the current situation is, what's the peak? What would be this, the worst case scenario that we can consider here as a peak of this escalation curve? What would be the maximum intensity that this war can get? I am telling you, if there was a case of two countries, two sides, without nuclear capabilities, we could imagine something extremely bad, really causing huge damages to each other, and then, of course, we could imagine de-escalation. We could conceive something like de-escalation, right? But that was only and only if both sides didn't have really the nuclear weapon, the ultimate destructive arm, at their disposal. We know that's not the case, right? We know that among three countries that are involved in this war, two of them have the nuclear bomb. So that's why, if you want to have a better understanding of all I was warning during these videos, was related to that. It was pertaining to the fact that these two countries have the nuclear arms and they can use that. Now, what's very interesting is that even the third part, Iran, despite the fact that they don't have, right? The Iranians don't have nuclear arm. Regardless of that, now they have a leverage to cause such a damage that can be considered as a nuclear explosion in Israel. So which will put us, if you want, in a scenario where all the three parts, both sides are able to cause the maximum damage. The maximum damage is to remove the other part from the surface of Earth, thanks to nuclear explosion, right? Israel can do that with Iran, of course. United States can do that. And now, from a few hours ago, Iran showed that it's also able to do it if necessary, if it chooses doing so. Something that was very interesting in the reports with regard to what's happening in the skies of Israel is that when sirens are activated, the Israelis over there can hear the defense system, right, trying to catch Iranian missiles and drones. That's normal. But also they said that they hear the airplanes, right, the jets that are trying to catch them. What does it mean? It means now there is an issue. There is a serious issue with the Israeli defense system, with Israeli Iron Dome or whatsoever it's called, right? They cannot catch, they cannot intercept the Iranian missiles. That's why from now on Iran showed just a few hours ago that it's able to pass all the defense system of Israeli, American and allies, and that's the first point. Second, it can hit the most sensitive, the most problematic location in Israel, like Dimona, for example. So that's why if they are able to touch the jewel of the Israeli crown, which was the Dimona, and the huge protection around it, if they are able to do it, of course they will be able to hit all these installation, station, refinery, and anything, the power stations, all the power stations of Israel, right? They can do that. If they can hit your most sensitive site, they can do with others. So what would happen when we get close to peak? They have to choose. Israel and United States on the one hand, and Iran on the other hand. They have to choose to act preemptively, which means that you are sure that the other side is going to nuke you, or Israel is sure that the Iranians are going to cause a nuclear explosion, which will put an end to any kind of life on a territory that we call Israel, right? So which one would act first? We don't know, but most probably this calculation is taking shape, is taking place. When I am pretty sure that from the moment we pass this threshold, which means when both sides start feeling that these are not any more disruption but damage, which means they are lasting, they are irreversible, they are somehow an existential threat, they will act preemptively. So you can make this calculation for both sides, because don't forget that if Iran can really hit all these stations, power facilities here and there, plus refineries or natural gas fields, so Israel would be uninhabitable. That entity, that country won't be good for the life of nobody. There won't be power. There will be a huge issue just to survive. That's why right now everybody tries to, leave the country by paying a huge price, because Ben Gurion is not functional. So they want really to save themselves, going back to their original country and putting an end to their dream regarding this fake entity of Israel. So I am talking about a very sensitive process that unfortunately has started a few hours ago, which is the phase of acceleration, and in 24 hours or 48 hours or less, We can be at the transition from from disruption to damage, and this is the threshold, and we will be in an irreversible course of destruction. Both sides will try to destroy each other. Of course, Iran cannot destroy the United States, properly speaking. The United States can destroy Iran. They are doing so right now, but by disruption, but from 48 hours by damage, by lasting, irreversible, long-term damages, right? And that's why what we are going to have is moving very fast, maybe just in a few days, toward the peak. And the peak, unfortunately, could not be anything, according to my calculations and my analysis, as I told you. It cannot be a no nuclear peak. It cannot be an atomic peak. That would be the usage of the atomic bomb over there, over Iran, and atomic explosion in Israel. So the peak here, unlike a normal conventional war, cannot be just a lot of damages like in the Second World War, for example, and then de-escalation. We cannot have that. It's impossible to have that. Technically it's impossible to have de-escalation after the peak. That's why if in this war we get to the peak, if we get to this point, you can be sure that we won't have the escalation anymore. Well, let me tell you what I think about the following step. It seems to me that after this peak, we are going to have that peak just as a new acceleration point of the curve, and then we go toward a real peak in a much higher escalation level, which will be the intervention of other countries, some of them nuclear powers. We are going to have an international conflict, and in the new peak we are talking about, that would be for sure a global nuclear peak. Okay, that would be the exchange of nuclear arms, nuclear weapons between United States, Israel, Russia, China, Pakistan, North Korea, India, France, and United Kingdom. 9 nuclear powers start to hit each other, because, as I told you, the case of Iran is not the case of Syria, it's not the case of Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, or whatsoever. We are talking about the center of human civilization. So if you touch that, if you hit that, it shows that you want really to destroy, to do away with the human civilization. And therefore, all the countries that are representing this civilization comes to you and fight you back. This is what's going to happen. So, you remember, I mentioned several times in my previous videos the fact that we are going toward the international conflict, right? But I am pretty sure some of you could ask how we can be sure about that, how you can be so certain about that, because I knew the process. If you know the process is this one, and there are the intricacy, the technical intricacy, like this one, for example, where you can understand the logic of the course, the logic of the process. And once you have an idea about this logic, of course you can predict, of course you can more or less. We talk about the hypothesis, right? We said that we would. Right? We did say that we will have the Third World War. We said we would have. Would conditional. So how? In condition of having something like what has happened just a few hours ago, bombing the Natanz nuclear facility, the reaction of Iran bombing the Dimona, immediately the order of Israel to the United States to go and bomb all the power facilities of Iran. So acceleration, escalation, coming from disruption to the damage, and of course looking for the extreme behavior, for the extreme actions. This is what is going to happen. And the whole world must be ready to pay the highest unimaginable, not imaginable, the highest unimaginable price for this carelessness of Zionists, for this cruelty of Zionists with regard to the human race. All right, finding a stupid guy, a corrupted pedophile guy, putting it at the White House, and then erasing completely the human civilization on the surface of Earth. Right? Because this is exactly what is at stake. Believe me or not, this is the future of the human species that is in the balance. You cannot really wait for a kind of awareness among the masses. The masses were never the actors of determining the path of the history. The path of the history, either by the bad guys or good guys, these are in the hands of actors, and actors are those who make the decision and realize that. The masses are just subject of these decisions. They are not the actors of these decisions. Now, what we can predict if this assessment is correct, if we have really entered in the escalation toward the peak, is something extremely bad, because it would include all the regions. Don't forget that we are already in a case of the regional conflict. It's not the war between Iran and Israel or United States. All the countries of the region, Persian Gulf region, are involved. But don't forget, we are just at the beginning of that. We are just at, let's say, 20-30% of the course of destruction of this war. 70-80% still there. And just based on the news that are coming more and more often from Syria, I can tell you one of the hottest zone of this war in the region will be Syria. All right? Even though anything that's happening right now in Iran, in Israel, but you will see that in Syria we are going to have serious trouble. Here, it happened a few hours ago. As you can see, the people are uprising in Syria, storming the General Security Headquarters in Kamshili Security Square, and bringing down the Syrian flag, the fake Israeli Syrian flag, and burning, the building, smashing the vehicles, and so on and so on. So Jolani, as the Mossad agent over Syria, he wants to act in favor of his master. And on the other hand, here you have the threat of the Iraqi resistance groups that saying that if Jolani and the other Israelis in Syria goes toward Lebanon, because Jolani is assigned right now with the task of attacking Hezbollah in Lebanon. So the Shia groups, the Shia Iraqi groups, will attack Syria. And of course, with those who are already ready inside, those who were attacking the governmental buildings, they will make a force. Again, this force is one part of the axis of resistance under control of Iran, and we are going to have most probably the collapse of the Israeli government in Syria, Jolani, and if they can really create a link between Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Shia in Syria, and the Shia group in Iraq, that would be a real nightmare for Israel, for United States, and for the Arab countries that are somehow with Israel, the puppets of Israel. Not only that, but on the other side, now we have the confirmation that the Houthi are preparing, the closure of the other strait, right? Because they are talking about the fact that if you if you try by force to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, here in Bab el-Mandab Strait, we are closed the Red Sea passage, and we are causing serious damage on the global economy. So, as you can see, they are trying, the Houthi are trying to get ready for entering in this war. Israel is bringing the special force in Djibouti, in the North Africa, just in front of where is this strait, in order to intervene against the Houthi. So which means that the Houthi will be able to attack also the Djibouti, and from Djibouti you will see that we are getting the involvement of Somalia and other North African countries. So global war, as I told you, international conflict is taking shape, and that's why any idea about peace, ceasefire, or whatsoever is completely chimeric, right? It's just fantasy, and you cannot really believe in implementing any of this kind of project or ideas, as long as, if you want to know till up to which point, till when, the answer is very simple. As long as the Zionist entity of Israel, as an entity that had been conceived from the beginning, from the origin, for waging war exists, the region and the world won't see never peace. This entity has shown that is not able to coexist with the human species, right, with other countries. And they showed that they don't have this ability. They don't have this flexibility to adjust themselves in order to do something ordinary, to coexist with the Palestinians, Syrian, and so on, and existing like a normal country called Israel, for example. This fake entity showed that from the beginning, 100 years ago, when they started with terrorism, with assassination, with mass killing, slaughtering, genocide, and till the last minute, last second of their existence, they can do but that. Nothing can stop them, to change their nature, their essence. No, these are the completely metamorphosed beings that want to eradicate, human race from the surface of Earth in order to create their global satanic supremacist, I don't know what, because we are talking about the crazy people, clinically psychopath people. So that's why we are going toward a specific moment of the history where it's a question of modifying the chapter of the history or getting completely vanished. One of these two will happen. Either the atomic war, the nuclear war, will put an end to the life of anything alive on Earth. This is one possibility, as final outcome. Another one is that the humanity can get rid of this entity, fake entity that is called Israel. Somehow Israelis have to go to their origin country in East Europe or elsewhere, from wherever they came, to live as a parasite. So, and then the Palestine will be, rebuilt over there. There won't be anything called Israel, only a Palestinian state, historic Palestinian state over there. And then you will see that the whole world can live in peace. Because the other war that we have right now, Ukraine and Russia, it's also by the Zionists. It's also by the Zionist Zelensky agents of Israel. So everywhere there is blood, destruction, bombing, slaughtering, genocide. It's Israel and Israel and Israel. Even though sometimes there are the puppets like the corrupt pedophile in the United States that will help them, but at the end of the day, if there is no this entity, you can be sure that there would be peace in this world. I don't have any doubt about that. Thank you very much for watching this video.